Hello everybody. So this is the tree I'm going to be working on here today. This tree was in another video, frost damage, azalea, something like that, because this tree really has not had any luck over the course of its life. I bought it from a nursery on a clearance sale. It was an odd one out of all the ones they had because of how big and thick this trunk is. It must have been sitting around for an awfully long time. And I brought it home. I didn't touch it, I just put it away. And in the spring, I was pretty sure it was dead. This was a couple years ago, and the bark was just peeling off the trunk. And then one day it started to push some buds, so I took it out of its nursery container and just stuck it into this pot with some sphagnum moss in it. And it seemed to recover quite well. Last year it was really nice and healthy. It was covered in flowers. I'll see if I can put in a picture of those flowers. But this spring, getting a look at it, and it's got a pretty bad mite or aphid infestation on it. So I've already treated it, and I'll treat it again. Also today when I get it out of this pot, because the goal today is to just get this tree repotted into some actual Canuma soil, soil that's specific for azaleas, and into a little bit nicer of a container. But the healing on this tree is really been pretty incredible. I'm amazed by how quickly and how big the amount of area the callus has been able to cover. Anyway, first thing I gotta do is get this thing out of the pot, get it cleaned off. So let me just get this stuff out of the way. First thing, I'll just get it out of the pot. Now I'm just going to start clearing away some of this. All this actually used to be, you can see some of it, the sphagnum moss that I just stuffed in here to make up the empty space in the pot. Yeah, it really didn't push a whole lot of root. Azaleas do grow a very fine, dense root system. You don't usually find a lot of big structural roots. There are some decent surface roots here that I'm going to try not to damage. remove as much of this old nursery soil as I can. I do pretty much always bare root nursery stock azaleas on their way into their first bonsai container. I've never had a problem doing that. They are usually a little bit healthier than this tree. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just push it, and hopefully it survives. It's not a fantastic tree by any means. Like I said, I've been trying to keep it alive for quite a few years now. Anyway, like I said, I've been trying to keep this thing alive, and it seems like every year since I've had it, I've really not done anything with it because I've been afraid to touch it, but it keeps living, and it just keeps having bad luck. I mean, this is not a healthy root system in here. Hopefully breaking this up and getting it into a more suitable soil will kind of revive it. Around in that area, there's a decent amount of surface roots. they just drop right off. You can kind of see the outline of like the original little square container that this thing was grown in. Way back in the beginning of its life. So this may seem pretty harsh, and it is. This is a pretty rough treatment that I'm giving this tree, but I know that they can survive this. And the less of that nursery soil I leave in the pot, the better this tree is going to be in the long run. Whatever soil I leave in here, I will have to come back in, you know, over the next repottings and get back in here and remove whatever's left behind, so that eventually there's nothing in there but Kanuma. All right, well, I think I've got that to the point where I'm going to take it out and wash off the roots and the foliage with the hose. All right, so now I got the root system just kind of sprayed off and cleaned out a little bit. It's just a dense knot of roots that's left, but there's a lot of the tips have been exposed, and hopefully they'll grow out into the new soil. I've exposed a lot more of the surface roots, which there are quite a bit of. They're in a weird pattern, but they'll plate together, you know, fuse, and I think it's going to have a pretty decent base on it. Again, this is not a fantastic tree by any means, but I think it's pretty interesting, wild, and crazy looking. And you know, normally I wouldn't necessarily be repotting a tree that wasn't overly healthy, but I know that this tree had problems in that pot. So I'm hoping that reinvigorating the root system is going to help to reinvigorate the canopy of the tree. Like I said, I'm going to be potting this into Kanuma. This is going to be 100% Kanuma. I don't have any large enough grain pumice. Normally I'd mix in like 10% or so pumice with the Kanuma, but 100% Kanuma is just fine as well. Kind of jumped the gun there. I do want to get at least one tie wire onto this tree. I'll be able to snake it through the bottom of the pot with the soil in there. I'm just going to take this piece of galvanized wire and wrap it around this little piece of aluminum wire so it can't pull through the holes. I think that'll be pretty good right there.
be too hard to get this wire underneath a few of these roots rather than above them. Let's keep going. Oh, perfect. Okay, I'll try to see if I can do a similar thing with this wire here. Try a slightly different spot. Not exactly where I would have liked it to come out, but I think that will work also. All right, so that's got that pretty well held in there. Get it filled up the rest of the way. Kinuma's very kind of chalky like. I believe it's a, I don't want to say a clay, but just like a mineral deposit. Pretty delicate. You can kind of just crunch and crush it up with your fingers if you try. Use my chopstick. So you don't want to go crazy when you're working it into the pot, or you'll just crush and break it all up. Just want to kind of gently settle it in. This was produced specifically for use with azaleas. It's a bit acidic, it holds a lot of water. It will allow roots to actually grow through it and break up the grains. So I definitely will need to top dress this. Kanuma, like I said, is soft and delicate, and just the action of rain hitting it and watering it will start to break it down, and you need the top dressing just to kind of protect it from that. Other than the fact that, of course, it looks good, helps keep moisture in the pot, all those things. I'm just saying that it's especially necessary with Kanuma. Same thing if you're using all akadama. All right, so I just made up some top dressing quick here. It's just shredded sphagnum moss and shredded green moss mixed together. And I'm just going to put a layer of this all over the surface of the Kanuma. I'm going to stay back a little bit from the trunk because I really don't want to cover up those roots. Just want a good layer covering the whole surface. Within a few months, this will all start to grow into nice living green moss. The sphagnum just provides a place for the moss to grow, and it also, especially in this case, is going to be given the little bit of protection to that Kanuma, you know, in the time being until the moss really starts to take off. This stuff really kind of meshes and locks together good the first time you water it, and that sphagnum moss softens up and it just kind of lays in together and meshes. I'll save this. I got a lot more pots to top dress this year. So what I like to do before I turn the hose or the watering can loose on this is just wet it down. That's going to give it some weight so it doesn't get just pushed around by the more forceful water that's going to be coming out of the hose or the watering can. Lightly press that down. So all in this video is just a view of this tree overall. Like I said, there is some nice surface roots. You can see a lot of those crazy wounds that I was talking about in the beginning of the video from when it got all the frost damage on the trunk. Like I said, this isn't a really fantastic tree, but it is kind of just a wild and crazy looking tree. And even though azaleas never really look good, in my opinion, in the spring until the flowers come out, this tree overall isn't in fantastic health due to the, well, I would say due a lot to what was going on inside that old pot, but also due to the fact that it has gotten an insect infestation. And I've already, like I say in the beginning, I already sprayed them once, and I'll be spraying this tree again with some insecticide. And the method of spraying mites and aphids and stuff off with a hose is also generally pretty effective. So I'll continue to do that. Maybe once a day, I'll take this thing out and hose it from underneath and just try to blast those insects off. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.